If you're a maintenance supervisor at a manufacturing facility and your machinery isn't working right, Grainger knows you need to understand what's wrong as soon as possible. So when a conveyor motor falters, Grainger offers diagnostic tools like calibration kits and multimeters to help you identify and fix the problem. With Grainger, you can be confident you have everything you need to keep your facility running smoothly. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed, lab-proven to work fast, and proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
Welcome to the Kulturecast. I'm Chris Stachiw, and I'm joined by two folks who picked this movie specifically, and boy, it looks like they Neo-style dodged some bullets this month. Talking about my good friend... Whoa, hey, you wait your turn. I'm talking about Richard Hatem, this guy right here, writer of such films as The Mothman Prophecies and Under Siege 2. Richard Hatem, welcome to the Kulturecast, friend.
Thank you very much, Chris. Thank God it's my turn. So you're saying by watching this movie, we dodged a bullet. My Lord in heaven. And boy, I tell you, reminding me that I chose this is the height of victim blaming, but I can't wait to talk about it.
And also joining us, my good friend, the head writer, owner, operator, singer, apparently, because he didn't tell me, and I found out in the last month since we talked on a podcast, Mr. Cullen Gallagher.
Guilty as charged.
Oh, might I add a good singer, too, not just the guy who makes SoundCloud mumble rap. This is a man who...
Too kind.
Hey, it's the truth, brother, man. And you know what else is the truth? We're here to talk about Can of Worms. It's the final movie of Disney Channel Originals Month. We're kicking off 2021 strong. So let's talk about Can of Worms.
Wait, I thought we were talking about like father, like son again. My understanding was that Richard was going to be producing a reboot for Disney Plus with sequels such as like Grandma Like Son, like Cousin, second cousin once removed like Son. It was going to be the whole family tree.
Like Kissing Cousins Like Son?
Yeah. Did I get the wrong memo?
What about like Stepbro Like Son? What are you doing, Stepbro? Oh, no.
I like it. Wow, now that you've mentioned it, I'm kind of intrigued. Maybe I'll have to get to work on
You
that.
could have this entire market cornered, Richard. Cullen just gave you the best idea possible.
Yeah, it's like a whole franchise.
The Like franchise. That's what you would just be calling it. The Like franchise. The LCU, the Like Cinematic Universe. Dear God. But we're not here to talk about that. Let's talk about some Can of Worms, shall we?
Saturday, April 10th. It's the world premiere of a Disney Channel original movie. For Mike Pillsbury, life on planet Earth has never been easy.
You idiot, you're running the wrong way!
So he sends a call for help into outer space.
Fellow citizens of the galaxy, I do not belong on this planet. Come and get me!
Little did he know who'd show up.
I am Barnabas from the star system Puppis.
Oh boy.
I am the bull. How do you do?
Mike Pillsbury, you have opened up a can of worms.
I never thought that thing would work.
Now, the most popular kid in the world
More and more specimens will be snatched.
has the biggest problem in the galaxy.
Is everything all right? You look stressed out.
On April 10th, lock your doors, hide your food, and be careful what you wish for.
I can't just take off on a spaceship. I freaked out at sleepaway camp.
Can of Worms, a Saturday premiere of a Disney Channel original movie. April 10th at 7, 6 Central, only on Disney. Saturday, April 10th on Magical World of Disney. To his parents, Mike Pillsbury has always been out of touch.
Is everything all right?
To his sister, out of his mind.
You are definitely from another planet.
But when he sends a call for help into outer space,
Come and get me!
he'll be out of this galaxy.
You have opened up a can of worms.
Now it's up to him to save his family and the world.
You need more fresh air.
Can of Worms, a Saturday premiere of a Disney Channel original movie. April 10th at 7, 6 Central, only on Disney.
So this film is directed by Paul Schneider, who I did get an interview with. You will be hearing from him here in a little bit. The film is written by Kathy Mackle. It is, music is by Mark Mothersbaugh. Yes, Mark Mothersbaugh of Devo.
Oh, yeah.
It stars, a couple folks that you've probably never heard of. One of them I guarantee you have. Michael Shulman, Erika Christensen, none other than, I would say the reason y'all picked this film, Malcolm McDowell is in the film as well. And for some reason,
Well,
I mean, he's in the film enough.
In the film.
But yes, we'll get to yeah, to be fair, Richard's not wrong. But yeah, so the film is about a kid who is visited by intergalactic aliens after he broadcasts a message into space saying, "Help me, I don't belong here." Yep. So Cullen, I'm curious, did you by chance see this when it originally aired?
No,
Okay, not surprising because I think you're a couple years older than me, right?
I am. This was a very weird movie for me to watch because I did not watch movies like this when I was a teenager. Right. I actively avoided this type of movie, so it was super foreign to me and brought up a lot of very weird feelings. I hope my insurance will cover both of your fees because this might be somewhat of a therapy. I'll try to keep it. I'll try to keep the content.
I love that.
To be fair, Cullen, when we talked about the Owls of Ga'Hoole, it was very similar.
This brought up some similar feelings.
What about you, Richard? I'm gonna just go out on a limb here and say you didn't see this in 1999.
No, I didn't. And I did, but it's funny because I did think about that. I'm like, well, what was I doing in 1999? How old were my kids? My kids, my two oldest boys were not old enough at that point to see this movie, and they would have been scared. They were 1 and 3 or something. So never saw it before. Didn't really recognize the people in it either. But
Richard, what did you think of the film, though?
Well, I mean, I think it was. Look, Disney did a ton of these. This was like a cottage industry for them, making this sort of this tone, this age bracket, and they knew how to do it. And Mark Mothersbaugh is a great composer for again this sort of genre. It's like he's not Danny Elfman, but he's the other one you would get if you don't get Danny Elfman for this kind of movie. I actually thought it was extraordinarily well made, well cast, well acted. I mean, it did everything this movie was supposed to do. I can't imagine being in the target audience for this at the time when it came out and watching it and not enjoying myself for an hour and a half.
Yeah, so a lot of the films we've talked about this month, aside from Camp Rock and...
If you're a maintenance supervisor at a manufacturing facility and your machinery isn't working right, Grainger knows you need to understand what's wrong as soon as possible. So when a conveyor motor falters, Grainger offers diagnostic tools like calibration kits and multimeters to help you identify and fix the problem. With Grainger, you can be confident you have everything you need to keep your facility running smoothly. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Your kids could get free or low-cost health coverage from Medicaid or CHIP. Even if you've applied before, they may be eligible now. Kids up to age 19 are covered for checkups, vaccines, dentist visits, hospital care, and more. And if they already have Medicaid or CHIP, remember to renew every year. Visit insurekidsnow.gov or call 877-KIDS-NOW. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Teen Beach movie I saw when they were on TV. I remember seeing this in 99. I don't remember it. I would say I don't remember it enough to be able to when I watched it yesterday say, oh, by the way, I remember this, and this. I remember certain things. Like I remember that weird alien with the shoes. I remember him a lot. I honestly, for some reason, thought that was the character Malcolm McDowell played. I don't know why. When Malcolm McDowell's voice came out of the dog, I was like, wait, I thought Malcolm McDowell was the weird-looking alien. That's a different story. That's just me remembering it incorrectly. But I remember watching it in 99. I remember enjoying it in 99. And to your point, Richard, very similar to Halloween Town and Xenon, which, again, are the two big kind of the granddaddies of the original run of these Disney Channel original movies, the pre-2000 ones, Halloween Town and Xenon. I would say that this is probably up there with those because, again, it's a genre film at its core, which for something like this, like you don't expect this quality of genre film coming out of Disney just because, you know, there is that whole it's programming for kids. It may or may not pander. And if it panders, you're going to lose some of the genre qualities to it. But I have my issues with this movie and we will get to them. I'm sure we all have issues. But I think ultimately it's pretty good. Like all things considered, I wasn't bored. I was entertained. You know, it like you said, Mark Mothersbaugh is great. I really don't like the lead actor. But I think that's because of the way he's written, not his acting ability. Because the way the character is written in this film is tonally inconsistent, and that's being nice.
Well, I've got a couple of questions for you, but the first one is, how old were you when you saw it originally?
I would have been 9. And
do you remember liking it? Was it like, I mean, in other words, when you...
Yeah, I remember actively enjoying it.
Okay. So you were like, oh, this will be fun to revisit.
Yes.
And then you revisited it and you felt like, yes, it was fun to revisit. Okay. Well, I mean, that's interesting. But you didn't like it. You thought he or his performance was tonally inconsistent script.
Well, the thing with this character is you have this nerd, right? I think that would be the parlance that we use to describe the way this character is written. And yet he doesn't act like a nerd. He acts like a dickhead. And like the way he treats some of the characters, it doesn't come off as sympathetic. It comes off as antagonistic. And it's like, dude, that one character in the film who's a jock, yeah, he's a dickhead, but like you antagonizing him is not going to help this situation. It's so weird because in a lot of these Disney movies, when you see the antagonistic, character who's the same age as the main character, not like the adult antagonist, normally the hero is not as kind of mean-spirited as that character is. But in this movie, the main character is kind of mean-spirited, and like I don't get it. It's just kind of strange.
Yeah, I didn't find him mean-spirited. I found him really charming, and I found that he wasn't. Yeah, he was a nerd, but he was sort of like he wasn't a cowardly nerd.
No,
so the fact that he sort of stood up for himself a little bit, I actually didn't have a problem with. I was kind of good with that.
It's not about him sticking up for himself. It's just like I don't understand writing the character who doesn't. He sticks up for himself to the bullies, but he doesn't stick up for himself to his parents. And that's just kind of an odd direction to go with the character. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I got it.
I think that's a good... I hadn't noticed that, but I think you are right about that. I think my issue with him was partly his hostility. He's a lot like the bully. Like,
yeah.
We meet both of them, and they're... at each other's throats. They're playing these computer tricks. When the jock comes, interrupts them preparing for the dance, the jock is super aggro and jealous and hostile, and he's exactly the same way back to him.
Right.
I just kept thinking, like, girl, there's some better guys out there. Probably a little bit nicer.
I don't know. You know what it was? I think I just found the actor so appealing that he transcended his character on the page.
I agree with you, Cullen, completely. It's weird to me because as a nerdy kid who was growing up as a nerd in 99, like this kid, that would not have been the way I would have treated the people who bullied me. Because you know what happens when you do that? They bully you more. They will like beat the shit out of you. And it's just like, you just keep your nose in your books, or you keep your head down and you power forward. You don't actively antagonize the bullies. Like it is strange.
Yeah, and it is strange, but I feel like, when you all are talking about this as a genre film, I feel like part of this genre, at least I'll consider myself an outsider to this genre because it was never my thing. But I feel like it's almost like fantasy where you can be the nerd, you can stand up to the bully, you can be all of these things. And, the movie is sort of wish fulfillment for that.
I guess.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But like, I never had the wish, like my wish fulfillment was never to be a dick back to the bully. It was to beat the bully's ass. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I agree with you 100%, Cullen. I think I was more shocked by the fact that the movie called The Way the Aliens Got to Earth a fucking Stargate. Stargate. What? Guys.
Yeah.
And they like kind of address it too, but they don't. They're like, Stargate, huh, Mike? Real original. Like, got you fuck. Like, there are some weird choices in this movie, but you know what's not a weird choice? How great the creatures look.
That was by far my favorite part. I loved all those little like puppet guys, and the design was great. The execution of the puppeting, that was a lot of fun.
What did you think of the Bohm, Richard?
I liked all those. Those guys were cool.
No, but like, what did you think of the little? What about the little green one that ate all the popcorn?
Yeah, that one was like the big. It looks like somebody crossed a. It was like the guy in The Fly crossed a head of lettuce with a fetal sheep or something. And
yeah, that mouth was oddly like sheep-like. That like there are few feature films that have character puppets as good as this film, and this is a Disney.
Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondersight comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wonderside's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wonderside.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wonderside.com. Wonderside. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wonderside today.
Hello, this is Aaron West. I am the author of the A24 New Wave. In this book, I look at A24's output and I make the argument that we are in a new wave movement right now. A24 plays a major role. This book has a supplemental podcast where each episode is a brief conversation about an A24 related topic, whether an actor, director, or even a genre. As I continue research for the book and conduct interviews, I expect to record podcast episodes with people involved with the company. You can find the podcast at cinejourneys.com or wherever you find podcasts, and we are proud to be members of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Channel original, and that character, the Bohm that's sitting on the table, is so disgusting. Like it's mind-boggling that this made it into a quote unquote young adult programming, because it's really gnarly.
Yeah, it's disturbing. For sure.
I like the one that I think was the Hollywood agent with the two like tentacle eyes that was, spitting the dust that would paralyze them.
Oh my God, Richard, you run into any of those aliens out in your neck of the woods?
It was kind of funny that they were all sort of based on like weird, sleazy. I'm an attorney, I'm a publicist, I'm an agent, or whatever. I mean, it all seemed based on weird West Coast LA kind of, which for me wasn't awesome. But I'm like, okay, I get it.
Richard, which of those aliens would you be?
None of them. I would be the who I'd be in this movie. I don't know, but maybe the dog.
What about would you be the Thode, the giant toad man? Oh my God!
I'm gonna say no. I'm just gonna say no.
That character design is legitimately amazing. The fact that they got a suit to look that good in a Disney movie of a giant man-sized toad is, again, this movie does as much well like Xenon and Halloween Town do with a limited budget. If you showed me this film and said that this film was made for, I don't even know what this film was probably made for, but a number that I think the three of us would be shocked by, I would not have said to you that these puppets would have been as good as they are.
Yeah, I would agree. There was a lot of effective creativity there. It's not like I wouldn't go out of my way to watch it. There's no reason for a 54-year-old man to sit down and watch this. Everything about it is cobbled together. It's sort of cobbled from something else. So it's not like the story itself had anything for me. Then it comes down to execution, and it's like, well, it's fairly well executed. And like I said, or like you said, the design of the creatures was great. I actually thought the tone of the whole movie, including the music, held together pretty well, and it was appealing. Like it didn't, even though it had the trope of the bully and all that stuff, it wasn't ugly. It wasn't like, God, this guy is really horrible. Like he's going out of his way to destroy this kid's life. It wasn't that bad, No,
I agree. For me, it's weird to watch this movie because it's, as I've said, when I was a teenager, I did not want to watch teen movies at all. I grew up in a small town in Maine. It was a very small high school. I wanted movies that would get me as far the fuck away from Maine as I could. I wanted nothing to do with, movies I was watching. Thankfully I had a local video store that had tons of foreign films, tons of old classic Hollywood. Like I just wanted movies to transport me somewhere else. So watching a movie like this, it's like I never wanted to be invested in these types of narratives. So I don't really think I'm a fair judge, but I agree with you, Richard. I agree with you, Chris, that I think it's, as a genre film, it hits the beats it's supposed to do. Chris, as you can attest, it's effective. It was fun for you as a kid.
Yeah.
It evokes that nostalgia now. I think the creature design is great. I would much rather watch those puppets than CGI shit. They're clever, they're funny.
And they do a lot of really interesting camera tricks too. They're using camera tricks to get around the financial limitations. And I really appreciate that in filmmaking, especially as someone who's been binge watching Lord of the Rings, it feels like every week for the last 6 months. When you watch something like Lord of the Rings, you really see all the kind of, if you look close enough, you can kind of see where the seams are, but that's okay because ultimately it still hangs together. And so if you notice, this is the scene where Frodo is not played by Elijah Wood, it's played by the little person actor with the Elijah Wood mask on. It doesn't detract from my ability to enjoy the movie, but I appreciate their ability to work creatively within the constructs of the frame. And this film does the same thing, especially with what you were talking about, Cullen, that the character with the shoes, the little alien with the two eyes and the shoes on, the amount of creative like camera work that they had to use to make that character work, while it doesn't always work, it's still pretty impressive that they got any of these characters and any of the interactions between the characters and the aliens and the human characters to work. I am really impressed. Because they have to like walk around and all kinds of stuff. Like it's not just, aliens in the background static. They're having to move and jump around and interact and try to sell him a jarmonica, whatever the fuck that is.
Can we get to the part where you lied about Malcolm?
Okay, so I didn't lie about Malcolm McDowell. I misremembered incorrectly. So yeah, let's talk about Malcolm McDowell. So Malcolm McDowell voices a dog. And Barnabas the dog. Malcolm McDowell is never on screen in human form. He is always in voice. And feels like a little bit of a cop-out.
Why?
Well, because Xenon had the kind of established actors on screen in a actual capacity, and Halloween Town had Debbie Reynolds on screen for 90% of the movie. My issue was I wish Malcolm McDowell himself was on screen. But that's a me problem, not a movie problem.
I mean, we'd all love to see Malcolm McDowell. Like he's great, but he voices the dog. Like, is the dog gonna morph into a person?
I
guess the Thode technically does. Yeah.
I mean, technically he could have. The rules in this universe are very loose and fast, it would seem.
I was fine. I mean, I like the fact that the dog just had a necklace and had the lips moving. Like, I thought that was much better than like trying to like animate the mouth. It was much better than like, I don't know. I thought it was a really fun, like really inexpensive and practical way to explain how can this thing talk
and look like a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah. I certainly don't have a complaint with that. It was funny. So once I realized, oh shit, it's just his voice, I'm never going to see Malcolm McDowell. I'm like, this was sort of, I'm like, why did we choose this movie? Was this like, is he doing like Malcolm McDowell month or something? Like, I totally forgot how I ended up with the task of watching this film. And so while I was watching it, I went over and IMDb'd Malcolm McDowell just to see, well, what is he really doing? But man, I got to tell you, that guy does a ton of stuff like this. This guy just does a ton of stuff. When you think of him, you think of his, 3 or 4 or 5 classic best, deathless roles, Clockwork Orange, things like that. And what you don't know is that he's voicing tons of cartoons. And I would say 95% of the stuff he's done in his life as an actor is stuff you wouldn't make a dog sit through, no pun intended. So once I realized that he basically will do anything for a paycheck, including showing up at your house probably, I kind of stopped feeling so cheated and figured, okay, the guy's making a paycheck, and this is a pretty typical Malcolm McDowell move. So that's where I ended up with that.
And the funny thing is that is the weird thing about Malcolm McDowell's career is, like you said, Richard, most mainstream people only know him from like one thing, right? Clockwork Orange.
Yeah.
But like the things I know him
after time,
I've never even seen Time After Time. That's
good.
I know it's on my long list of movies I need to watch. And that's the movie that got David Warner cast as Freddy Krueger, and then he stopped being Freddy Krueger. So that's one of the reasons I want to watch it. But as someone who's seen Malcolm McDowell in Tales from the Crypt in one of the show's just like most biggest waste of time for the people involved in the episode, Malcolm McDowell does a lot of really weird stuff. Like you said, Richard, stuff that like I would never have guessed he would be in it.
Well, he's one of those classic, British actors who comes from that ethos of you just work. Someone calls you up and says, I got a job. You don't ask a lot of questions. You don't think about your career. You just go, how much? Done. I'm there, and you just go do it. So I figure, all right, dude, God bless you. Because I agree with that too. I agree with just do the work, just go do it.
Nothing wrong with being a working actor. I mean, Lance Henriksen, Malcolm McDowell, they've made their careers being working actors.
Oh my God, dude! I've spent. I shudder to tell the two of you that over the past month I've been doing a deep dive into the television show Hardcastle and McCormick from 1983, and Lance Henriksen shows up in 2 episodes in the first season. I think back when you could just show up on the same show and play a different character because 2 months have gone by.
Yes,
or
the
something.
Barney Miller Kolchak days. Oh yes,
right. And it's like. Okay, sure, I'll buy it. But yeah, Lance Henriksen shows up, and I'm like, ooh, okay, I get some Lance.
Malcolm McDowell has been acting since '64. Okay, this guy has 272 credits to his name. That is an insane number. But again, for someone like Malcolm McDowell, it's even crazier because the guy was in like 3 or 4 things this year.
He likes to work.
Including a TV series that I still have yet to watch, the Sean, what's his name? Simon Pegg, Nick Frost, ghost hunting show. He's a cast member in that. Like, okay, shit, I didn't even know that.
Question for you. Since you are a working filmmaker, not only does this suggest that I think Malcolm McDowell either likes to work or really needs to work, and I hope it's that he likes to. This would also suggest to me that he's easy to work with or pleasant to work with. Because I don't think you're going to get 272 roles if you're a pain in the ass and no one likes you.
Right. No, you're correct. I did a show a few years back, and one of the writers on the show is like, oh, I'm friends with Malcolm McDowell. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Friends with Malcolm McDowell?
You should have looked at the person and been like, hell of a flex, dude. Hell of a flex. What the fuck?
Well, I mean, this is, by that time we were friends, and I'm like, what the fuck how would you even explain that you're friends with Malcolm McDowell? And I think that Malcolm McDowell had done a few episodes of Franklin and Bash or something. I'm like, wait, what? And he's like, yeah, he did a few episodes, and I flew up to Vancouver, or I was on set, or
try 40 episodes. That's wild, though.
First, I had to digest it. Wait, so Malcolm McDowell was on Franklin and Bash? Jesus. And then it's like, and you hung out with him enough that he was just like, yeah, I'm your buddy. Yeah, we can go have dinner anytime. You just call me up. So apparently there was a period in this guy's life where he would just call up Malcolm McDowell and go, hey, you want to grab a drink? And Malcolm's like, yeah, sure. Where do you want to go?
And that warms my heart.
Likes people. Doesn't it? I mean, it's great. It's like he's a decent guy. So, yeah, you're right.
It's perfect that he plays the dog. It looks like a nice dog, too.
It's nice to see that there are still people in the industry, these kind of like stalwart old guard types that are, still just cool people, like genuine actors, like a working actor who cares about fostering relationships with people like that. That really is, like you said, Cullen, that's really an awesome thing, really.
Yeah. So good on him. And yes, the dog was adorable. So kudos to the dog and the dog trainer. Let me tell you, I'm working on a show right now that involves a dog, and it's not easy because even a professionally trained dog is pulling it off 10% of the time or less. And this dog was doing a lot of shit and doing it really well. So I think this is a very skilled dog. So good on the dog.
And I think, Richard, you and I can agree that this movie is better than Star Trek Generations, another film that Malcolm McDowell is in.
Generations. I'm just going to say yes.
Which one is that?
Generations is the one where Kirk dies.
I don't think I saw
Malcolm McDowell is the baddie in the movie, and he's the reason that Kirk dies. And Kirk dies by like falling off of a bridge and getting impaled. It's real bad. It was that movie that like almost sunk Star Trek movies for a long time because, what everybody wants to see on screen is Jim Kirk dying by getting smashed by some rocks. Boy, that's a way to go.
It's a decision.
But what's funny to me about these Disney Channel original movies, every one of these early ones has like one of these like known old school actors working in them. So you have in this movie, you have Malcolm McDowell. In Xenon, you have, Stuart Pankin, who, is fucking amazing. You have Raven Simone as well, another working actor. Frederick Coffin is in that film. And then in Halloween Town, you have Debbie fucking Reynolds, of all people. And she would come back for every other Halloween Town movie they made. Like, it's wild to me that Disney was able to get these folks involved with their movies. I'm sure that they threw cash at them like crazy, but sometimes cash is not what motivates people. It's just
Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed, lab-proven to work fast, and proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wonderside's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wonderside.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wonderside.com. Wonderside. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wonderside today.
Hello and welcome to Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys. My name is Hunter. In this podcast, I'll be joined by a different guest each week to discuss a classic Western movie or TV show. I've been a fan of classic Westerns for as long as I can remember, and in recent years, they've become very nostalgic for me. I love the aesthetic, the tropes, and I love seeing different filmmakers' takes on them. At their best, they're incredibly entertaining, rewatchable, and some of my all-time favorite movies are Westerns. We'll mostly focus on Western movies made in Hollywood, but we'll also be covering spaghetti Westerns, and one thing I'm very excited to get into are Western TV shows. I've got some amazing guests coming on the show, film professors, historians, and podcasters. And Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys is part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network, and many guests on the show will be from other shows on the network. Thanks for listening.
not.
I wonder, if that's one way to hook the parents. Because if they're going to have to sit down and watch a movie with their kids, if they see a name that they're going to know and be excited about, they're going to be a little more invested, and maybe they'll sit down and watch it with their kids.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And also it's easy for Disney, to say, hey, motherfucker, we're Disney. And actors are like, oh, okay, it's Disney.
But don't they also have, going back to, the 60s with, I'm forgetting some of the, Rosalind Russell was Mother Superior, in some of those Haley Mills movies, Trouble with Angels.
Well, and then you have Kurt Russell in the 70s, right? With the brain with shoes or whatever, and The World's Strongest Man, all those Kurt Russell movies. It's kind of weird. Disney has this pedigree. It's not like a inherently obvious pedigree in their movies, but so many people got their start with Disney. I mean, even Sean Connery was in an early Disney movie, Darby O'Gill and the Little People. That's a Sean Connery film.
That's right. Yeah. You know what? I actually thought about that, Chris, when I was watching this movie. I'm like, oh, this is sort of this generation's, world's greatest athlete, or, all the Dexter Riley films. That's the character that Kurt Russell played in a few of them. That's what this is. They've got, again, they have a history of doing these kinds of movies. So, and that kind of made me like it more too.
Well, I feel like I missed the opportunity for the three of us to continue the Kirk Cameron train, because we could have watched, instead of Can of Worms, we could have watched You Lucky Dog, also directed by Paul Schneider, where, get this, Kirk Cameron claims he can read dogs' minds.
I'm okay with this selection. I think Richard did right.
It also has John Delancey in it, so there is that. I would have watched it just for John Delancey, but yeah, I would say I think we made the right choice with Can of Worms. It's one of the better movies of the better movies I watched this month that I hadn't seen in so long I almost forgot the entire plot.
Well, it was fairly painless, which, I've come to realize is the most I can hope for some of these movies you forced me to sit through.
It's true. Hey, Richard, I forgot to tell you, next month we're actually going to be covering Mothman Prophecies all month.
But every week you'll just have somebody else on discussing Mothman Prophecies. I think that's time well spent, by the way. Especially as none of those people are me.
Mothman month.
I'm just gonna be like Cullen.
And then at the end, we hold a tribunal for Richard, and we hold Richard accountable for his film crimes.
You know what? I would not.
The Kulturecast Film Tribunal.
I'd be in for that. Well, I'll go to your tribunal.
But yeah, I mean, Richard, you're, to your point, because, Richard, you and I have sat through some real duds like Lost Souls last year, 2 years ago?
Yeah,
2 years ago now. Yeah, I mean, we've sat through some real duds. So, I'm not even going to say compared to those movies, this is good. This movie I would show my kids, if I had kids, I would show them this. I think that they would enjoy this. And if if my kids were into sci-fi stuff, they would really enjoy this. Because this is an easy gateway to get kids to watch, sci-fi movies.
Yeah.
And it's not E.T. So there's that.
Yeah, I agree with you. Look at me. I'm being agreeable.
Oh, wow.
I'm just excited.
Someone get a camera and take a picture.
I'm just excited because later on, we've already booked the next few films. So, I've been kind of inoculated against all my attitude.
You're like the dog in the mirror. You're like the dog in the window of the Chinese restaurant, watching them bring the food to the table and being like, I know I'm going to get to eat some of this when they take it home.
Exactly.
So
yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah. You were smart to schedule the future movies ahead of time. See, so I've calmed down a bit.
So let's take a break. We'll play the interview I did with Paul Schneider. We'll talk all about the film, and when we get back, we will finish up talking about the film. How did you initially get involved with the Disney Channel original movie Can of Worms?
Well, that was, I think, my third project for Disney. Well, actually, the first one I did was the Disney Sunday movie. But I did after I got out of the American Film Institute, my thesis project was had children in it.
Right.
And the industry being what it is, Disney saw it and, thought, oh, well, he can work with kids and that sort of thing. So actually, I'm wrong. It's the fourth thing I did. First thing I did for Disney was a show called The Leftovers, which was about kids in an orphanage that starred John Denver. And then I did another project, kind of a fantasy project, about a kid who falls in love with his teacher in middle school. And he, in a Disney sort of way, he gets in a machine that makes him older. It's kind of similar to Big in a way.
Sure.
And then I did a project called You Lucky Dog, which was about a guy who had an ESP relationship with a dog. So by then, Disney said, well, okay, so he works with kids and he works with animals. And that's
he
really
works
how
with
Ken
Kirk
was.
Cameron. So
yeah,
also that.
You know what? Kirk was actually great in You Lucky Dog. He was really fun to work with. And God knows what's happened with him and where he went from. But when we worked together, it was delightful.
I was about to say, what's happened to him since notwithstanding. I mean, I have seen You Lucky Dog, and I've also seen some of his earlier stuff from like the late 80s, and he's a pretty charismatic guy. It's kind of sad
absolutely.
In a way.
It is, because he seemed to me like a perfect kind of charming, funny, guy who could work well in comedies and I don't know.
Michael J. Fox for the 90s.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was expecting to hear a lot more from him.
Yeah, sure. Oh, yeah.
The other thing about The Can of Worms was that it was also produced by two women who I had worked with previously on other.
Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
Projects. So that's often how these things happen. I worked for the Disney folks, and then these people, I knew them. And, so when they brought me up to the Disney people, they said, oh, yeah, he's okay. So that's kind of how those things happen.
So let's obviously talk a little bit about just kind of the early goings of the film and, the cast. When you were initially approached to be part of the project, was Malcolm McDowell already cast in I would say, the third lead role?
No, I don't think so. I don't think anybody was cast at that point. I was first approached by these two producers, and they sent me the script. And when I first read the script, it was really extravagant. I mean, for a television movie, it was way beyond what there was, spaceships and wars and with aliens, and it was just.
Okay.
And I let them
that
know.
answers a question we all had when we were doing the podcast, which was, how much of this was aliens before it wasn't? You know what I mean?
Yeah. It was it was a very big project for a television movie.
Sure.
The way it first was, and when I asked the producers, what was the budget, and they told me, I said, this project couldn't be made for that. So it went through quite a bit of revision, and almost all the interstellar stuff got taken out, and we stayed more on Earth. But we still had, animatronics and things like that.
Sure.
But it was a very, very difficult project to make, even cut down, because it was demanding in terms of special effects and animatronics and things.
So with the original, when you were originally approached, let's say now, in the way the film is, it's I would say 50-50 alien, kind of alien extravaganza and kind of teenage drama. How much weighted in the other direction towards the alien stuff was the original script and the original idea when you were approached?
Yeah, the original script definitely had a lot more big sort of action, interstellar spaceship stuff going on. And, the other side of it, with the young guy who is not happy on Earth and wants to get out, that was there, all right. And there was a whole lot more of the special effect alien spaceship stuff. And that's
Gotcha.
what got cut down.
Yeah, it kind of seems like it in a way, because at least we noticed the aliens seem to show up a little, maybe a little later into the film than one might expect. And we were curious, frankly, because again, the assumption that we all made was the thing that you just said, which is the budget was I'm sure the budget was a massive part of trying to get this done, like you just said. So.
Yeah, it was. We went through an awful lot of discussions with Disney on this, and it was just a compromise. And when that was made, the CGI world wasn't nearly as advanced as it is now, even though it was thousands ago. But it was long enough ago that it was much, to a lot of the things that we did, we could have done a lot more if it was now.
Oh, of course.
For the same price, But it probably one of the areas that was the most difficult in terms of budget and everything was the sort of finale with the creature or whatever you want to call it that comes up at the end.
The toad, the big toad man. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And, that was a difficult because I really wanted a more CGI and make it a more kind of fantastical and interesting creature.
Sure.
And Disney just kind of balked at the cost. And the thing we had to sort of deal with the most was there was this, they kind of wanted it to be, a guy in a creature suit. And we were really worried about that. So, it was just a never ending discussion on that one.
I guess I'm a little surprised, but not surprised to hear that Disney was surprised that the budget of the project was going to be as high as it may have been, given what the project is intrinsically about. I mean, there's no way that you get around the fact that you have to have aliens in this movie, and there are a lot of them.
Well, I think if you've worked with executives, some executives I think have a sense of what things cost,
right?
If you're going to do them right. And then others, I think they have a good sense of the story, but they're not really they're not being really realistic, like I might say, about what you would need to do it in such a way that a sophisticated modern audience is going to buy it,
Sure, of course.
Because at the same time, they're defending their budget. They don't want to bust their budget. But like you say, in some ways, once you say yes to a project like this, you kind of have to then, accept the fact that it's a fancy project.
You can't make a movie about aliens and then say, once the project's been approved, oh, we can't have the whole alien thing anymore. It's like, that is not how this is ever going to work, especially with, like you said, a project of this magnitude with the special effects required.
Yeah, and you just have to do them. You really need to do them right, because we're way out of the Robbie the Robot era where people would accept kind of goofy looking stuff,
right?
And even little kids are pretty sophisticated about what they buy, so to speak.
So I'm curious, because I've spoken to another director who's worked on some other Disney Channel original movies, and he's said something similar about Disney. But I'm curious, kind of the first time you worked with Disney to the last time you worked with Disney, how did your relationship change with the people that you were working with at Disney and those who you were kind of having to talk to about the projects you were working on?
Well, Disney has always been famous for being a very budget conscious, studio. And, this was the one that was the hardest in terms of budget, I think. And, in the end, I don't know how happy they were. Plus, they started moving away from this kind of project and more toward the High School Musical type of thing, But I think, for example, we were shooting in Vancouver, British Columbia in November. And British Columbia in November, the word rain is the operative word. So the producer I was working with, we both said, geez, there's a lot of stuff that takes place in this backyard. And
bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide, Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
Have you ever wanted to dive deeper into the horror movies you love? Beyond the Blood is a horror podcast for fans who want more than just surface-level screams. We do deep dives into the movies that shaped us, digging into director commentaries, behind-the-scenes stories, deleted scenes, and the special features that most people skip. Each episode is a love letter to the genre. We break down how these films were made, the creative risks that paid off or didn't, and the lasting impact they've had on the genre as a whole. From 70s slashers to modern nightmares, we celebrate the craft, chaos, and characters that keep us coming back. If you're the kind of fan who rewatches movies with the commentary on, or you simply grew up in the video store horror aisle, the Beyond the Blood podcast was made for you. New episodes every single week. Subscribe, and let's dig deep. Welcome to the Beyond the Blood podcast.
A fair amount takes place at night, or we moved a fair amount to it at night, because we said, you know what? We'll never get this movie made if we try to work in a real backyard in November in British Columbia. And it was about an extra, close to $100,000. We built the whole backyard and the tree thing on a set in Vancouver. And even though there are some things that are in the real backyard, if we hadn't done that, the movie would never have been made, because it rained every single day that we were there, all 25 or 28 days or whatever it rained. And, with animatronics and things, you can just imagine what that would do. So, but I think the Disney folks just never forgave us for telling them the truth that, that we just had to do that. But it cost extra money and, they weren't happy.
Why not change the filming location? I guess it didn't really matter at that point, but if Disney was so upset about it, I guess what would have been the impetus behind not just changing the filming location?
That's a good question. I mean, they were committed to it. I don't know. There were a lot of financial incentives in those days, and at some points, for example, the dollar exchange, and that might have been one of those points. There was a time when the Canadian dollar was worth 65 cents to the American dollar. So you factor in that plus the provincial tax credit and the federal tax credit, and you're talking about a lot of money, because that's 35% discount, and so that had a lot to do with it. Is that it was just there was a lot of pressure to shoot up there until there wasn't, and then in fact the opposite happened with You Lucky Dog. We were supposed to be shooting in Canada, and then Disney decided at the last minute to shoot it outside of Los Angeles, which really threw us a curveball because of all the union situations. But no, they didn't budge on the Vancouver thing.
Also in '99, I mean, you're about a couple seasons into the run of the X-Files, and they're filming all the time in Vancouver. It would seem that like the late '90s and Vancouver, Canada, were really pushing really hard to get people to be filming up in Vancouver. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I filmed there all the way up until like 2007 or 2008, and it was busy. I mean, when I first started there, I can't remember what the first thing I did was, but, you had to bring a lot of people in from Los Angeles and so forth. And by the time I finished there, I mean, pretty much everybody was there because they had so much business that the crews were there and everything was there. So, it was a pretty good deal. Yeah, now in the United States, I think, at least it used to be pre-COVID, I think weren't the big tax credit places like Atlanta and New Orleans, right? I think those were those have become the American Vancouver, Vancouver-esque places where everything, including the Avengers, is filmed in Atlanta. It's weird how Atlanta keeps looking like New York over and over again. That happened with Toronto, where Toronto had to stand in for everything. And there's a TV movie called Down in the Delta that, of all things, the producers who I knew had to shoot it in Toronto, and Toronto does not look anything like the Mississippi Delta. I was about to say, if it's down on the Delta, I'm assuming it's the Mississippi Delta.
Yeah, and that was kind of amusing. That of all things, that's where they had to be. It was a pretty tough, not a very good match.
So, again, before we kind of move on to talking about the film in general, again, I'm just very curious because everyone seems to have their own kind of thoughts on Disney. Would you say your relationship with Disney was good and it was a good relationship? Again, I'm just very curious. So many people have so many just various takes on working with Disney, obviously.
Yeah. I definitely. I enjoyed working with them, and I did do 4 projects for them. So yeah, I would say basically. I had a good relationship with them. They're just very top down. I mean, that's just the nature of them.
Right.
So it's very, hard to, for executives to say yes, because there's always somebody over their head that they have to talk to, and then somebody over their head and so forth. But by and large, I certainly can't complain. I mean, I had good experiences with them.
So let's talk about the movie itself. So I had kind of mentioned already, working with Malcolm McDowell. How much did you get to work with Malcolm McDowell? Obviously, he's never on screen as Malcolm McDowell, the actor. It's all his voice for the dog character Barnabas. How much did you get to work with Malcolm McDowell versus? I mean, obviously you worked with the rest of the cast filming on set, but how much did you get to work with Malcolm McDowell?
Well, we did go into a recording stage, and work on that. So that was fun, but it wasn't very long. I mean, we just went in, and I don't even remember, it was like half a day or something like that, and just we played around with the voices and stuff. I've always enjoyed that kind of thing. I love being in a sound in a recording studio and messing around with either voices or love the days when we still had live music recorded for the scores, and you'd go in there and work with the musicians and things like that, which was great. But, I had a little bit of time with Malcolm McDowell, but not a lot.
That's kind of what I figured. It's funny. When we were talking on the podcast, the way that I had initially described the film to the 2 gentlemen, one of whom is a screenwriter and the other one is a film critic in the same vein as myself. I told him it was a Disney film, a Disney sci-fi film with Malcolm McDowell, and they were taking me to task because Malcolm McDowell wasn't actually in the movie. And I was like, guys, I mean, it's a Disney Channel original movie. Not everything can be Halloween Town, where Debbie Reynolds steals the show the entire film.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Yeah. So I'm curious, outside of Malcolm McDowell, you already mentioned the music. I'm assuming, not assuming, you got to work with Mark Mothersbaugh, but tell me a little bit about working with the rest of the cast, Michael Shulman, Erika Christensen. Yeah, I mean, Erika's she's a very pleasant person to work with, very nice girl. This was one of those projects where, in some ways we were so kind of involved with dealing with the aliens and all the various effects and everything else, that, you sort of had to hope the actors could do what they needed to do. Right. And it's, especially for Michael Shulman, kind of having to act with creatures that weren't exactly there and dogs that, didn't really talk and all that kind of stuff. And it's interesting for a director. You have to help the actors so that they know where to look, they know how to respond. Because, you find yourself doing scene after scene where the actor is acting with something that isn't there. Right. And it's really your job as a director to find a way that they do feel like there's something they can act to or act with. And that was probably the biggest, challenge to work, for that actor in that whole project. Yeah, like you said, it's for an adult actor, I'm sure it's hard enough, but yeah, child actors working with CG or early CGI in some of the characters and puppets and on-set puppets, I'm sure it's not easy. Yeah, no, I was saying it really is important too, because what happens is if you don't give the actor a way to really feel like they have something to relate to and act to, there can be a deadness in their reactions and everything else because they're kind of faking it, Right. And so you really need to spend time
coming up with the right substitutes, the right things at the right height, and so on, to really give them something to work with. And I learned about that, on this project, since there was so much of it that had to be imagined.
Sure. Yeah, to your point, if you look at some of these other Disney Channel original movies, these very early ones, the pre-2000 ones, so this, Xenon, Don't Look Under the Bed, stuff like that, I would contend that this is the one that has the most going on in regards to the effects. I mean, you have Xenon and Halloween Town. While the effects are there, they don't steal the show. I mean, the effects steal the show in this movie. I don't think anyone's going to argue that, especially some of the creature designs. But like you said, it feels like a bigger ask than just, oh, hey, there's going to be monsters in the background. It's, oh, hey, you have to be interacting with these characters almost throughout the second half of the film, that it's half of who, Michael Shulman even interacts with. Right. And that's where you really have to watch it so that the performance doesn't go cold, because he didn't have, people to work with. So we spent a lot of time trying to help him with it. Sure. So do you have any specific memories or stories from when you were working that stick out to you as memorable or well, I guess memorable is a pretty good way to put it. Yeah, well, I mean, one of the memories is we would get up, we'd go out to go to work. It would be pitch dark and raining like crazy, and then we'd go into the soundstage, which had no windows, and we'd spend the whole day there. And then we'd come back out, and it would be pitch dark and raining like crazy. Oh, Jesus! It's like being in a casino all day. Yeah, it was a doozy. I have a memory of there was that creature that had those big sort of like antennae or whatever they were, tentacles or whatever, that stuck out over its head. Yeah, he's like one on all the posters, right? Yeah, that guy. And I remember we were working outdoors in the daylight with him or it. He was on like a porch or something, and it was very tricky. I remember we had to spend quite a bit of time because it kept looking to me like it was gonna look fake. That we weren't, because when you're outdoors and it's daylight, you have a whole lot less control than you do on a soundstage, where you can control the lighting and control everything. And outdoors, you're kind of naked, so to speak. And that was a trying day. I remember that well, working with that. And I think it turned out okay, but it was very, very tricky because you just lose control when you're in that situation. Well, and I was sitting here thinking about it, thinking about the fact that y'all had to build this set, the backyard set on a sound stage, and thinking about it, it's frankly amazing how good it looks and how not like a set it looks. Because, I mean, I have another podcast where I talk about Tales from the Crypt, and a lot of those episodes of that show are clearly on a sound stage, and it's very obvious. And right. In Can of Worms, it was not obvious to me that it was a set. To God, I'm kind of surprised. I'm actually not kind of, I'm really shocked because it looks really, really convincing. Yeah, well, I'm glad you feel that way. I mean, a lot of it has to do with, like I say, if you can have night, you can really control things and make them seamless so that hopefully when you watch the movie, sometimes I myself sometimes forget that it was a set, but it all has to do with control. That's what it's all about. And, that's why we actually moved a fair amount of day scenes to night in the back just for that reason, so that we could have better control. And now now that you say that, a lot of those backyard scenes are set at night, aren't they? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that was why. It was because we knew that we could make it feel real so much better if it was nighttime. And sure. We had a good designer. We had a very good designer. One thing that Disney does do is they hire good people and a good cinematographer. But the night helped a lot. So let's talk a little bit about the aliens and having to work with the puppetry. So how much experience had you had working with heavy duty puppetry and stuff like that prior to Can of Worms?
Almost none.
Okay.
Almost none, because I had done a previous Disney movie called 14 Going on 30, which was about this kid who goes from 14 to 30. And in this machine that he builds. It's, one of those classic old Disney kind of things. And he experiments first with tomatoes and various other plants, and they grow to enormous size. So I did have a little bit of experience working with somewhat animatronic looking items, but I'd never done anything with this kind of puppetry before. And it was intimidating because you're always thinking to yourself, how am I going to make this not look like puppets, and that there's somebody there, manipulating them. And it's like I say, if it was now, we could have done more CGI work.
Bugs crashing your PAX party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
Hello, my name is Kevin Tudor, and I'm one of the 3 hosts of Almost Major, a film podcast dissecting many major indie studios and the films they release. Every week, myself, Charlie Nash, and Bryden Doyle discuss overlooked, forgotten, or bona fide classic indie films via studio-specific miniseries. We've previously covered numerous films from Artisan Entertainment, Lionsgate Films, and New Line Cinema. Titles including The Blair Witch Project, American Psycho, Dogville, But I'm a Cheerleader, Saw, Requiem for a Dream, and Ringmaster, the Jerry Springer film. Anyways, we have a fun time every week, and we hope you will join us. Subscribe to Almost Major wherever you get your podcasts. Now proudly a part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
To kind of smooth the edges and make things blend better, and that's the beauty of what's going on now. You can combine live action with CGI in a way that an audience doesn't even begin to see. And, we probably could have used some of that.
I would agree, but there's also part of me that really loves, actually a huge part of me that loves that these are traditional puppets, because at least I feel this way, and I'm curious as someone who's obviously worked in the industry and has worked on a film that has as much puppets as this film did. Would you agree that CGI can become a crutch, though, especially when you're talking about a project like this? Yeah.
Oh, for sure. No, I love animatronics, and I love those puppets. What I'm saying is not so much that you wouldn't do that, but that you can really enhance and blend, seamlessly blend in some CGI just to
fill in the gaps.
That little extra 10%. That would be nice. But no, I wouldn't want to. I like animatronics, and I like those puppets and things. Yeah, for sure.
I guess this is a 2-part question. Which of the puppets did you find to be the hardest to film and work with versus the one that was probably the easiest to work with of all of them in the film?
Well, I mean, the one that shows up, in all the posters was probably the most fun one.
Sure.
And I think, and I'm trying to remember now, if any of the other ones actually had to work sort of, free. In other words, out moving around outdoors. I don't think so. Most of the rest of them were in that treehouse, weren't they? I'm just trying to remember if there was other ones.
Yeah, well, then there's the one that ends up showing up in his room that starts eating all the food and puking all over the place.
Oh, yeah. Right. That was sort of a Ghostbusters-y kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I even though it was difficult, I enjoyed working with those two the most, just because it was the most challenging, that they were, supposedly moving around in the room and stuff like that. So I would say probably those two. And, the ones that were in the treehouse, my biggest worry was that they would look like they were, in a treehouse with holes where you could, so that we could hide all the animatronics and things.
Yeah, that scene, and that initial scene in the treehouse with all the aliens, there's a lot going on, and it turned, I think it turns out really well. I mean, it's a very busy scene, I think, just by the definition of what needs to happen in the scene, but
yeah,
it's an impressive scene because, I mean, again, this film and the time that it was made, like we've been talking about, even if the budget did get kind of stymied by Disney in a way, it still looks really good. And those puppets are really impressive. And the way that y'all were able to not hide the strings in a way, but figure out a way to make it work, it's impressive. It's impressive now, and it's definitely even more impressive, knowing it was made, in kind of just right at the cusp of CGI becoming more available to like television movies and smaller productions.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you feel that way. I mean, I feel pretty much that way about almost most of the film. The only place where I really felt a little stymied was in the climactic, battle, so to speak.
Sure.
The climactic. That's where I wished I could have had a little more help.
Are you talking about specifically on the spaceship at the end of the film?
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that set, because obviously that was another set. What was it like working on that kind of alien zoo set?
Well, I felt basically that I wanted it to have a lot more impact. And a lot of it had to do with, as I say, the way that what we could and couldn't do with the creature, and how we could, make the battle, the feel more intense and so forth. So, it was a perfectly good set. And I felt a little bit like we were sort of, you could see too much in a way. I think one of the real tricks with that kind of thing is, one of my favorite movies is Alien, and the original Alien. And, they're so incredibly clever about only showing you part of the creature, most of the time.
Right.
I'm sure you've seen
Oh, yeah.
movies.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And
that's almost what makes the film so good, is that it exploits that Jaws-esque, don't show too much until you absolutely have to.
Yeah. And so I think that was just brilliant, the way that Ridley Scott and his production people did that. And so I felt like I wanted to do more of that with the ending, but we just didn't quite have enough set and enough oomph with the creature, so that I'm okay with it, but I wasn't quite what I imagined.
Yeah, the climax of the film, at least for me, it felt a little rushed. Because of what you just said, where it's like, we don't really have the ability to do as much as we want, so we're going to have to cut it back a little bit. And it is unfortunate, but, I can imagine where all of the work went, and all of the work was going into everywhere else and this place, because there was I'm sure we've already talked about it, how big of an ask so much of what was going on in this film was for everyone working on the film. I mean, especially with all the animatronics.
That's true.
So, when you wrap the film, when it's all said and done, and you start working with Disney to get the edit where they want it and where you want it, kind of how different is the final film from what, kind of what you had envisioned it would be went into to work with the editor?
I don't think Disney asked us to do a lot of significant changes. I think we pretty much shot what the script was, and we had a screening on the Disney lot, I remember, and it was very sort of fascinating to me. I always love live screenings just to sort of see how an audience reacts,
Sure.
to a piece. And I think, it was a good reception. Like I say, I don't think the ending was quite as strong as we wanted it to be. But Disney didn't really, to tell you the truth, I did those 4 pieces with them. They never...
Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wonderside's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wonderside.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wonderside.com. Wonderside. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wonderside today.
They never really asked us to do a whole lot of changing because I think we always because they were television movies and they were done on fairly tight schedules. We tended to shoot what we had, and it wasn't as if Disney could say, it's not like a feature where you shot twice as much footage as there needed to be in the film. We shot what had to be shot.
It was pretty one for one, I'm assuming.
Yeah. There wasn't a whole lot of fat, not much. You just don't, especially in a show like this where, if you're going to do some animatronics and things like that, you better be darn sure they're in the movie because you don't want to go and spend all that money and time and then not use it. So we didn't throw out much.
I'm curious. I read about some of these other early Disney Channel original movies, and some of them, were meant to be pilots for television shows. Was Can of Worms meant to possibly have more life past the original film? It seems like there's kind of setting up some things towards the end of Can of Worms, and I can't never tell if it's intentional or not. I'm sure it's intentional, but I don't know what the intent past.
Yeah.
What you know what I'm talking about with him possibly being an alien.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think I think pretty much, to be honest with you, I think of the 4 projects I did, I think 3 of them they were thinking maybe there might be a series.
Right.
They never did, and sometimes that has to do with how does the lead actor or actors or actress come across? Is this somebody that they think they could hang a series on?
Right.
That's really important, to Disney, as it should be, is the cast charismatic enough that they can do a series, with it. I have a feeling with Can of Worms, for one thing, they thought to themselves, geez, we can't do this every week. It's too expensive.
Except for the fact that they did, though. That's the crazy part. They did with dinosaurs, which was even more expensive than this.
Yeah. What year was that?
That would have been early 90s. My kind of thinking would be that because of how expensive Dinosaurs was, doing a Can of Worms TV show where you have weekly animatronics, possibly different ones showing up. There are stories about how expensive Dinosaurs was to shoot. I can only imagine how expensive this would have been if this had become a weekly episodic television show.
Yeah. Well, I think we had some thought at the time that we did You Lucky Dog that they might have wanted to do something with that because that would have been a fairly easy one to do, turn it into like a half-hour show or something like that. But, I think things happened with Kirk Cameron and his wife, girlfriend, that made that impossible anyway.
Right. But they had never intimated to you anything past the initial Can of Worms film for this series.
They did, but it was always just kind of this might turn into it wasn't serious.
Right.
It was more. I mean, pretty much everyone I did for them, there was some talk about that.
So that's kind of just the way it is with Disney, then.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they're always looking for that. Every time they do a movie or a TV movie, where they're always on the lookout to see, is there something we could turn this into?
Right.
And that's one of the reasons why they're so successful, is they're really good at sort of figuring out how to get the most out of their projects. But no, it never turned into anything serious.
So I'm curious, and again, this is more of a story beat question, but again, I'm talking to you. I figure I'll ask you and see if it's an answer that you have. That scene towards the end of the film with Michael Shulman's character with the alien in the alien zoo, are we as the audience being led to believe that he is an alien? Or I guess, how do you interpret it? Because we interpreted it all. The three of us each interpreted it differently. So how did you interpret what was coming across on screen?
Yeah, I mean, I always thought it was that he felt like he didn't belong on the Earth, but I don't think he actually is an alien. I mean, that was my 2 cents. That he felt more like he could belong somewhere else than he would on Earth.
Sure.
But I don't know that I don't think that was the intention. Let me put it that way.
Okay. So I was just reading way too far into it. I was the one who read into it. Everyone else was like, no, he's not an alien. I was like, but, that scene is pretty extended with that alien in the zoo. And plus, it's never explained how he could have just thought these aliens up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's the sticking point for me.
Yeah. Gosh, I think I have to watch that scene again.
It's really weird. Like it's a very strange scene given the context of the rest of the film.
Yeah. I haven't. I'll have to look at that again. I really hadn't. I hadn't thought about the implications there on that. But I have to look at it again.
But it's interesting to hear that was not the original intent. So I was reading too far into it, probably as an adult watching it, not the 9-year-old that I was when this originally came out. So
yeah, right.
So the film comes out in '99, and kind of what was the kind of response to it that you were hearing, the response from Disney? How did it all end up playing out in the end?
Well, I think. Honestly, I think they were more. I think they were more enthusiastic about You Lucky Dog than they were about Can of Worms. And even though, gosh, it's funny, when I first started teaching here at Boston University, I had a lot of my students in those days who said, "Oh yeah, I saw Can of Worms and I really liked it," and so forth. But for one reason or another, I think partly it has to do with which direction they decide they're going to go in, and it may, it kind of felt like that wasn't where they wanted to go with the Disney Channel.
Right.
And, I think
like you've already mentioned.
Yeah. Yeah. And, like I've always loved working with animals, and, Disney used to be kind of known for that.
Right.
And they moved away from that. They became more urban, the High School Musical and all the other stuff that they did, the sitcoms, they kind of moved away from what we used to think of as Disney. I had a project called Big Spender that had to do with a horse, and we originally sold it to the Disney Channel. Actually, not Disney Channel. It was a Disney. Yeah, I guess it was. Well, maybe it was Disney Sunday Movie. I think it was Disney Sunday Movie. And the person we were working with got fired. And when the next one came in, it was kind of like, Jeffrey Katzenberg says we don't want to do anything with
bugs crashing your PAX party. Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondersight comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wonderside's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wonderside.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wonderside.com. Wonderside. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wonderside today.
Dust in it, meaning no more, animals and horses and things. So we ended up doing it on the Animal Planet years later. I mean,
wow.
6 or 7 years went by. I never gave up on it because I really liked the story, but it just wasn't what Disney wanted to be doing anymore.
And that's, I'm one of those folks that is, I'm a huge fan of, I think, like Disney-ana in a way, but I also, it's hard for me to kind of reckon with Disney as a company in a lot of ways. And hearing you mention Jeffrey Katzenberg is it's like PTSD in some respects. Because I mean, Katzenberg had such a huge part of Disney in the late 90s and really shaping the programming in positive and in negative ways in some respects, obviously. I like yourself, associated Disney, at least when I was growing up, with stuff like Can of Worms, Xenon, Halloween Town, genre filmmaking, and they don't do that anymore. They just don't.
No, they moved on. They moved on because they felt like, that was no longer the sweet spot for the demographic that they wanted. And, that's what happened. So that's why we ended up making that movie with the Animal Planet, which had like a 2-year window when they were making television movies, and I happened to get in it. I did 2 projects for them. Also a thing with a whole family of dogs. It's, I don't know, they really, when these companies and channels, when they take a shift in what they want to be doing, a whole bunch of other kinds of projects just go out the door.
Yeah. Yeah. And, and then they start shifting their focus away. Because I never knew that Animal Planet had their own films. But again, I can't say I'm surprised, given every channel in the late 90s, early 2000s was trying to figure out what kind of content worked for them. So
yeah, and they got into that business and they got out of that business. And luckily for me, I was there when they had a few years, and I was able to do a couple of animal-related projects with them that I would not have been able to sell either of those to Disney, during that period of time. Animal Planet was if it wasn't the Animal Planet, it was nobody.
Right, sure. Oh, I'm sure. So, we come to the end of Can of Worms. Have you had an opportunity since Can of Worms to work with Disney, or was that the last opportunity?
That was the last time I worked with Disney. After that, as a matter of fact, the 2 projects that I had, which sort of became not something Disney wanted to do, that's when I went and did those Animal Planet movies.
Sure.
Which happened not long after Can of Worms, as a matter of fact. And then I was doing a lot of work for CBS in those days too, so that's where I ended up spending more time. And then I ended up, getting into some of those smaller channels like Lifetime and Hallmark Channel, things like that, But
the places that are known for television movies now.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny how the cycles run. When I was doing stuff in the 90s and the early 2000s, there were a lot of television movies made by the networks. But once the reality TV took over, the networks kind of got out of the business. And now we're seeing a huge resurgence because of streaming and stuff of television movies and even more so limited series, which we used to call miniseries. I mean, that's become a huge business now.
Everybody and their mother wants content. I mean, it's not just Showtime and HBO. I'm trying to remember. I watched a true crime docuseries that was from, was it IFC? Oh, it was Sundance Channel. And that was the first time I had watched anything from the Sundance Channel. And I watch a lot of stuff, as I'm sure we all do. And it's just like, man, everybody wants content now. Now.
Yeah, they do. And the one of the, probably, if not the hottest, it's certainly one of the hottest things right now are these limited series like The Queen's Gambit and things like that. I mean, they are just, and some of them are really good, really good. I mean, a couple of years now, the thing I've liked the most hasn't been a feature film. It's been, some limited series.
Oh, yeah.
People versus O.J. Simpson. And did you see the one about the breakout at Dannemora prison? Oh, really good. Really,
what's it called?
Really, I think it's called Escape from Dannemora. And it's just brilliantly done. Of all things, Ben Stiller directed it, but he did a great job.
Oh, wow.
And it's got great actors. It's really, really good.
Huh.
Really good. And then Chernobyl, which I don't know if you saw Chernobyl.
I was going to say that's when I think of the things that are the limited series that knocked it out of the park. It's that. It is Chernobyl, 100%.
Yeah, well, Chernobyl was great, and you really should watch the Dannemora one. It's based on a true story.
Sure.
Patricia Arquette is fabulous in it, and she won, I think, an Emmy for it. But anyway.
I've never even heard of it. I guess it's a Showtime show, and Showtime kind of lost me after Dexter shit the bed so hard. But yeah, they're coming back and fixing it, thankfully. I think it's really interesting because, like you said, there was kind of that about 15-year period where reality TV kind of, everyone's opinion on reality TV is going to vary. I would say stunk up the joint. But yeah, it is interesting because now you do see a lot of the networks just hard pushing for original, fictional content. I mean, even something like History Channel with Project Blue Book. I mean, I never would have thought History Channel would have a narrative show on their network given the last 25-year history of their programming. But Project Blue Book is really good. And it's surprising because it's on the History Channel. And that's, to your point, everybody wants content all the time and no one wants to settle for reality TV content anymore.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating. By the way, that show is called Escape at Dannemora. And I'm
going to have to check it out.
Yeah, it's very good. It's very, very good.
It also has, does it also have Benicio del Toro in it?
Yeah, he's great. He's great. Best thing I've seen him do in the last 10 years. He's excellent. And the other actor is really good too. I just can't. He's
Paul Dano.
Yeah, he's really good. It's just, the performances are just top rate and the production values are great. I mean, it's just as good as any feature film. That's what's happened to television. I mean, it's beautifully done. Great production design and everything. So it's a good one.
I was talking with a friend of mine the other day about how spoiled we as TV viewers are with stuff like WandaVision and The Mandalorian, because those are movies. Those are movies. The production value is so high that they are movies. There's no way around it.
Yep. Yeah. The distinction is going away, or is gone actually.
Yeah,
it's gone.
Well, and the funny thing is, we've talked about Disney because obviously Can of Worms is a Disney show, and you can go watch Can of Worms on Disney Plus, and Can of Worms is nestled right next to another, ostensibly television movie or television series like WandaVision or Mandalorian, and you look at the budget on those shows, and the times have changed, and then some, and then a lot some.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very true.
Because I can't even imagine what the budget on some of those shows is like. I mean, it must be astronomical, to say the least.
Yeah, and they've gotten so expert at knowing at how to create those effects.
Right.
That would have been really astronomical 10 or 15 years ago, but they've gotten really good at. There's some of these new technologies where they can do effects in the camera. They were using them I think they use them on Mandalorian, actually.
Oh, really?
Mandalorian. Yep.
So they were doing stuff in camera.
Yeah, it's a technology now where you have the live actors on a special kind of set where you can create essentially the CGI at the very same time that the actors are acting.
Wow.
There's a name for this process. I just can't think of it, but it's I think the wave of the future in many ways.
Well, and again, when we were talking about Mandalorian and WandaVision, the show that kind of used to be the bar by which everything else was measured was Game of Thrones. And obviously so many things happened with that show that have nothing to do with the budget that tanked it. But it's funny to even watch where the technology was with Game of Thrones 10 years ago to something like Mandalorian or WandaVision now. I mean, it's just, who knows where it's going to be 10 years from now, but looking back 20 years ago, to, over 20 years ago to Can of Worms, it's just a stunning change from, a couple, 2 decades, over 2 decades.
That's for sure. Yeah, it's very remarkable. Oh, yeah. The stuff with Mandalorian is called, you could look it up, it's called Stagecraft.
Okay.
And it's pretty phenomenal. It's pretty phenomenal.
So,
and I think it's one of the reasons why they could do it. Anyway, go ahead.
Go for it. No. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Yeah, I think only someone like Disney can afford that at this point, or these bigger production companies, because I can't even imagine how expensive those things are. Yeah.
I mean, the initial investment is something beyond almost anybody except something like Disney. But once they've got it, then they can do things with The Mandalorian that they couldn't do without really spending beyond even what Disney would do. So, right. The initial sort of like getting it going and getting it on its feet and installing all the stuff is very, very expensive. But then once you've got it, you can do things that nobody could have done in the past without, huge post-production stuff.
Right.
Now it's done. A lot of it's done.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, obviously you've mentioned, and we haven't really gotten into it, but I kind of wanted to close the interview out, kind of talking about your career as a professor, and kind of, transitioning, when did you start transitioning into academia, and what kind of drove your decision to, move into the academic film world as opposed to, working solely behind the camera?
Yeah, I actually, gosh, it's hard to believe it's so long now. I came to Boston University in 2002, but I did continue to do TV movies. I did another 8 or 9 TV movies, which I did in the summers and things like that.
Sure.
I think probably the main reason was that I had little kids, and freelancing was kind of scary because my bread and butter really is television movies, network television movies.
Sure.
And in the late 90s, the reality TV was crowding out television movies. So I sort of thought, I think I need something a little more stable with these little kids.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
So that was really a lot of it. And, being a director, moving into teaching, even though it's not easy, as a director, you should be pretty good at communicating and teaching people and getting them, so it wasn't too horrible a transition for me. And, I like working with the young people and trying to help them, especially with story, making good stories.
Sure. So, for you, what's, and you kind of mentioned it a little bit, but for you, on a daily basis, kind of what's the most rewarding thing, outside of working with the young, the younger kind of, students with their projects, what's the most rewarding thing about having moved from academia or from, working as a director to, an academic?
Well, I mean, I definitely find it when we can work on the bigger picture of how, where the industry is going, how our program should evolve to stay current with where the industry is going. So, like, for example, right now I'm really pushing hard to see if the university can help us create a VFX animation part of our program that would be integrated with the live action. And that's, if you look around the country at even some of the most famous programs like USC and others, they have terrific animation VFX, but it's not integrated with the live action. And to me, that's where everything is going. is how to seamlessly put the two together. So that's kind of something that, we're really working on. And that can be rewarding, trying to not just doing the day-to-day, same thing, but, what should we be doing? How can we be thinking, creatively about how to make the program better?
And it makes me really happy to hear that, because for me, as someone who, I have a master's in business. I'm not even doing what I got my degree in here, but, for me, my kind of one qualm with academia has always been a lack of foresight and an unwillingness to move with the times. It always feels like academia is catching up to the times as opposed to moving in parallel. And it's nice to hear someone like yourself is pushing to keep up with the industry as it is now and keeping up with those trends. It's nice to hear someone like yourself is really pushing to make sure that your students have access to those kinds of things.
Yeah, when you're trying to do something, hopefully that isn't even being done very much in these programs, try to do, and that's an area I just know that's where everything is moving. And so I'd like to see us be able to get on that train.
Well, and it's, the students would be at a massive disservice without it, especially, like you said, given the fact that this is where the industry is going. And it's, once the cat's out of the bag, you can't put this cat back in the bag with CGI and, live action, on set CGI. You can never go back. It's too late to put that back in the bag.
No, and you have to teach them how not to lose the sense of what is the real story, but be able to use what is now the modern way of telling stories. So,
have any of your students that you've worked with gone on to work on any projects that, I may have heard of?
Right now the directors that are the most successful visibility-wise are these guys known as the Softy brothers, Josh and
Uncut Gems.
That's their project, and they were here as undergraduates, and they already had something when they came here. They were quirky, interesting, and we helped them, but we didn't make them.
Sure.
They had their own kind of angle on life, and it was fun having them here when they were here.
Yeah, I kind of always assumed that, in a scenario like with the Softy brothers or some of these kind of, I would say, well-known auteurs that come through film school, I can always assume that sentiment is the one that follows them around, which is they were here, but they didn't necessarily need to be here in a way. Do you know what I mean? Like they had a better grasp of this than maybe most people who even decide to come do this have.
Yeah. What this did for them in many ways was it gave them an opportunity to sort of figure out what they were doing and who they were and what kinds of things. And also they got like a little studio or a little, cast of crew that they ended up working with off and on for years, cinematographers and everything else. So when they left, they had their sort of band of brothers, and that was probably very valuable.
Yeah, it seems, at least for me, when I went to, was in the academic world, it was all about who I made connections with, obviously, and less about, Yeah.
Well, that was definitely true with them.
How has COVID and, everything that's been going on in the world, the stuff that we obviously can't control, how has that been affecting you and how has it changed your job and how you interact with your students?
Well, to be honest, it's made things very, very difficult for us.
Sure.
In the production, our screenwriting areas and things like that, it's not a big deal, but it's exceptionally difficult to make movies in this circumstance. The Boston University has a very elaborate testing program and so forth. And, trying to make a movie where the actors are wearing masks, it's not a pretty picture. So we're hoping and praying that this is the last semester we have to deal with it, because it's hurt us. It's been tough.
Sure.
The students have had to be creative. They've been pretty good. Given how restrictive everything has been, they've been pretty resilient. But it's it's not something I would like to do for much longer. I can tell you that.
I hear you. Yeah, I can't. I have one of my close friends. He's a filmmaker and he works in Canada, in Toronto actually. And he was telling me that he actually completed a feature film during the pandemic, but everything was green screen. Every actor's performance was green screened and then put together in post. And all I could think was, Jesus Christ, like that just. Kudos to you for getting a film done during the pandemic, but my God, what a undertaking.
Yeah, it is. It's if you're a big company and you got some money, things can be done. It's much harder for students with no budget to try to, deal with all COVID related safety protocols and also get a movie made.
Right.
Uneasy.
So I guess my final question to you would be if you're someone who's looking to get into the film industry, and I'm curious as someone who works in an academic setting, because you always hear it, and so I'm curious your take, because I've never spoken to someone who's in film academia. You always hear don't go to film school as it's like a rallying cry for some of these directors. How do you feel about that sentiment, and kind of where do you come down in that conversation?
Well, it kind of depends on what your ambitions are. I was a theater director. That's how I started out. I worked in New York, worked at the New York Shakespeare Festival and various places. And I really wanted to get into film and television, and I really didn't have a way, even though I did do a few soaps when I was there. But I went to the American Film Institute as a director, and in fact, that's how I got a career. I went there. I made a film. It got a few recognition in a few festivals, and then I got an agent from my film, and with the help of the agent, I was able to get my first feature, and then on and on and on. But so for me, without film school, I don't think I would have had it. So you can't. I don't think you can make a blanket statement one way or the other. It can be very helpful to some people, for sure. Like screenwriters, they can, you can learn a tremendous amount so that when you walk out, you have some viable scripts that may help you, get jobs or get agents or things like that.
Right.
So it just depends. Some people don't need it, and it's been very helpful to some others, I think.
Yeah, the only folks that I know who've gone to film school have been screenwriters, and that seems to be kind of the thing that they swear by, is go to film school, especially if you're wanting to do writing, because it does seem to help the screenwriters out, But being able to bounce your ideas off of other people in a creative workshop setting is, at least for me, I think is always going to be a huge benefit to the academic system as it is now.
Yeah. No, I agree. But also, sometimes, especially in certain programs, if you can come out with a good film, it certainly could help my career. That's for sure.
All right, so we are back. Big thanks to Paul Schneider for sitting down and talking with me about Can of Worms. Before we close this out, I am curious. We haven't really talked about. We've talked about Disney movies,
all my feelings and troubles and my.
Cullen, please, you see the seat in the corner, please take a seat, yeah. I will kick my book open, we'll talk. No, I was going to ask, this is, because you guys, both of y'all, don't really have a lot of experience with Disney Channel original movies. I would assume you've made it both sound like you don't. But I don't know the next time we're going to talk about Disney films. So I'm curious for y'all, what is kind of the pinnacle of Disney for you guys?
That's kind of big because now you've got, Disney includes Pixar.
Okay, I'm talking about Disney without Marvel, without Star Wars.
As a kid, it would be, the animated Legend of Sleepy Hollow.
Which is a good one. Yeah, I was about to say I could have almost answered this question for Richard. I've heard Richard tell the story about his answer before, but also a genre piece.
Cullen, what's yours?
I'm actually Googling Disney because
oh man,
I did not watch these types of movies at all growing up. Like I grew up in front of a TV set. I was like an MTV kid, HBO, Arnold Schwarzenegger, action movies. I think my mom showed me Deliverance when I was like 6. I saw, I think, Apocalypse Now when I was 6 or 7. Like, that's what I watched.
So Can of Worms is kind of, not your speed of programming if you watch Deliverance when you're 6.
No, not at all. I mean, I cannot, other than the Owl movie, Chris, like, I cannot think of another movie that made me so uncomfortable and confused as watching this. Because I just did not watch movies with teenage protagonists. I often found them just teenagers obnoxious, like the narratives that they find themselves in.
Well, they're all very samey.
Yeah.
It's always the same problems. Like, there's a bully. Oh, there's also a girl that I like. Like, the box, those constraints, you don't have to play inside of that narrow 2x2 box. Like, you can do more than that.
This also sort of plays into a trope that I see in a lot of these movies and in books, which is just the trope of like the kid who thinks he's special, who knows that he's better than everyone else, and that winds up being the narrative. He proves that he is special. He proves that he is better than everyone else, and I'm just not really into those sorts of narratives. Like I didn't like them as a kid, and as an adult, I'm still not that into them.
Well, now I understand why you don't like Harry Potter, because Harry Potter is just one giant series about the savior kid who can save everything.
I think I heard Richard said he agreed with me about that.
Yeah.
I want to glow like the character in this movie.
No, but I know that feeling because there were movies like this one that feel like they're presuming that they're going to hit a broad base of teen or young person viewers because they're going to look at that main character and go, oh yeah, that's like me. Yeah, there's a bully at school. And look, there were some, fucked up people at my grammar school. And I did not feel like I belonged, but not in this way, and it was never, oh, I'm not good at sports and stuff. Like the very notion that any movie where a kid wants to be accepted by his peers was antithetical to me because I was so divorced from my peers and their worldview that not only was I not a part of them, I didn't want to be a part of them. So that as a goal or being accepted always seemed bogus to me.
I agree, and I understand where you're coming from, Richard. And then what I have to keep reminding myself of is there's probably people that, like you suggested, are going to see this and will relate to it. And, maybe they want that, positive message of like, okay, I can be, the weird nerd and that's okay. I can, I am powerful. I am special. Like, this is where I say it's like therapy for me, because maybe it's a weird thing for me to be like, wait, no, I don't want these kids to have, be special. Like, why do I not like this about this movie?
Well, I do find that, being older makes it easier to watch movies like this because it's like now I don't have to be weirdly embarrassed. Like, oh, is that what they think of me? Do they think that's my life or these are my interests? Because I'm clearly not the target audience. It relieves me of that weird shame by association of watching people my age being represented in a way that doesn't feel like.
Well, and also, like you both have said, realistically, when you're a teenager, you're seeing the same people every fucking day of your life for years. Please tell me please tell me where it's like that any place now in your life, even if it wasn't the pandemic. Even if you work in a desk job, you're not guaranteed to be around these people constantly, expected to, kibitz and strike up friendships with people.
That was like my previous job. It was a museum and it had like a huge staff, and you literally did see this hundreds of people, who work there. It was like this, basically the size of my high school. In fact, I think there are more employees at the museum than kids in my high school. And you did see the exact same people every single day.
But was there an expectation that you had to like meet and get along with and become pals with everybody?
I mean, there'd be no way for you to do that job without.
That's fair.
That job would be fucking miserable. Because you're an adult. You have a job. You come there every day. You don't want to make other people's lives miserable.
Right.
In fact, there were some colleagues who actually did seem to enjoy making my life and others' lives as miserable. So maybe that's one reason this rubbed me the wrong way. It reminded me of my job.
But that's the thing. It like, if you're in that scenario, you can, like you just said, you can sympathize, you can relate to this. But if you're in an industry where you're not constantly around people, you can live your life the way you want now, and you're not going to have people judging you every day that they see you. But in high school, it's constant. And like, it's just bizarre to me with this movie and so many of the things that happen in this movie that it never, even like the teenager part of this movie, never got away from the basic generic stuff we expect. And it spends half of the movie doing it, and it's not particularly compelling because it's pretty much very generic. It's the same kind of stuff you see in any Disney movie, any movie for young adults, where you're trying to, like you said, Richard, get in touch with who they are and what they're dealing with. But man, like, high school for me was a time where I wanted to be left alone. And like you said, Cullen, this whole like, everybody, I'm special, I'm more important than everybody else. I feel like that's kind of a dangerous thing to tell people in a way. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to downplay people's individualism any more than I assume you are, Cullen. But telling someone that they are inherently special just because it's not conducive to a lot of higher level thinking that when you're an adult, you kind of need to be doing. Because if you believe that you're intrinsically better than everybody else just because, that mentality doesn't help you become a responsible adult.
To play devil's advocate against myself, maybe my lack of self-esteem wouldn't be so drastic if I watched more movies like this that told me that I had talent.
I don't know.
I
watch these movies and I still have self-esteem problems.
Movie ever.
I wonder if there was actually more high school stuff, or if there were like expectations, if we consider this as a genre, where it's like, you need to have so much at the dance, you need to have so much on the football field, so many classroom scenes. Because once the aliens come, the movie sort of shifts tonally. It becomes a little bit more, a little bit more fantastic. I think it becomes a little bit funnier.
I was going to say, it becomes very slapsticky and upbeat.
Yeah, it loses a lot of the sort of high school like cliches that we're talking about and complaining about. To me, that's when the movie actually picks up and becomes a lot better. So I'd be curious to hear from his perspective, like, what did he have to work within? What were the constraints? What did he have to push back against in order to get the movie that we wound up with?
It's weird to me how much of this movie is the teenager stuff, because even something like Xenon and Halloween Town, like the three of us know, if a movie takes an hour of its 2-hour runtime to get going, like, maybe you need to trim a half an hour of that out, because the getting going part, the rising action, if it's inherently interesting, I'm here for it. But if you're just mining the depths of typical teenage drama, you can watch any of these Disney movies and see that. That is not inherently unique.
That's what made the movie makeable budget-wise. They were able to go, okay, well, we're not doing special effects in every single shot. That's going to be that's going to make up, from about the 40-minute mark on, that's going to be what it is. But we're going to be able to do a lot of affordable scenes that you can film in a day, where it's just kids talking to each other, or the kid at school, or the kid talking to his girlfriend, and then we're not gonna overload every single frame of the movie with a special effects shot because then we can't afford to make the movie. So it may have been a budgetary thing.
Well, and if it's a budget thing, I mean, again, I totally get it. Given I can't even begin to imagine what this film's budget was, and we've talked about how good it looks, given that it had a rather low budget.
The actress, she did Traffic the next year.
Yeah, and then she was in Parenthood recently. Erika Christensen is really good.
Yeah, I think she didn't have much of a character in this at all.
It's unfortunate because all the female characters in the other movies are given a lot to do, but they're also the leads, so there's that.
Yeah, she was terrific, and I liked her in Traffic. I haven't seen the movie in a long time, but I remember her being quite good.
So, Richard, what would you give this film out of 5?
And how are we defining the 3 and 4 and 5 again? How are we, like, what's the... Do you have like a constant sort of like 3 means you won't jump off a bridge to avoid seeing it again?
I'm not sure I'd jump off of a bridge to avoid a movie one way or another.
Depends how high the bridge is and what's underneath.
Yeah, exactly. I would say 5 is perfect. 4 is really good. I would watch it again. 3 is, if it was on, I might not change the channel. 2 is, this is not terrible. 1 is, there's barely anything here to enjoy. And 0 is, oh my God, what is wrong with you?
Okay, so if 3 is still in the range of I'll watch it again, I'll give it a 2.5.
What about you, Cullen?
You know, it's funny. I am going to give it the exact same thing. And this was a good conversation because it, raised what I would have given it. Because it helped put it in a different perspective for me. Because when I saw it before, I was looking at it very, I would say narcissistically, just looking at it just within the context of myself and what does this movie mean to me. And, I am not the target audience for this movie. It's not supposed to mean anything to me in some ways. And I think this conversation was really helpful in terms of recognizing what the movie did very well. So it's a 2.5 for me, but, I could see kids liking it more.
I feel like every time, Cullen, I have you on and we talk about a movie that is for a younger audience, I need to apologize because I feel like I'm pushing you into a territory that's like not even like, we're not even in the realm of the world you want to be in.
It's probably good for me to watch something that doesn't have Clint Eastwood or Burt Reynolds. Not every movie can have them.
I mean, they can if you only watch their movies.
I mean, I do watch quite a lot of them. I have been watching a lot more Chuck Norris, which has been very interesting and strange, but has yielded some surprisingly decent movies. And that could be a whole other month of Chuck Norris month.
But what about Chuck Norris meeting aliens that come to take him away? Interspace lawyers.
Well, have you seen Silent Rage?
No, I have not. Does it feature Chuck Norris and aliens?
No, it's Chuck Norris versus a zombie serial killer that can't be killed.
Oh, I'm here for that.
Pre-canon Chuck Norris is a lot more interesting. I grew up with like Missing in Action and Delta Force, and I think when you give Chuck a gun, especially a machine gun, those are like his worst movies. Except for Code of Silence, which was written by, oh my God, I can't believe I'm forgetting his name. But he wrote some stuff for Clint Eastwood too. I think he wrote The Gauntlet.
So it sounds like if I ever gave Cullen a month to program, it would be Chuck Norris movies, and I've never seen a single one.
Oh no, I mean, if you gave me a choice, I would probably pick Burt Reynolds over Chuck Norris for you. But I would totally pick some Chuck Norris movies for you. The early ones are fascinating.
If you're going to do a Burt Reynolds month, I would definitely be interested because I think there's a wide range of movies you could be programming there.
I agree, and I'm looking at his smiling face right now. I have a poster of Lucky Lady on the wall, which might be my favorite movie of all time.
And I have seen 0 Burt Reynolds movies.
You've seen how many?
0? I've never seen Smokey and the Bandit.
I feel like you got to really We gotta.
This needs to be rectified, as they would say.
Why did I pick noir? I should have just given you Burt Reynolds movies and told you they were noir.
Hold on. I do fact check. Unlike so many people in this country, the storm is coming.
Wow. I have not seen Lucky Lady. Look at this. It looks amazing.
I think it's really fun. I've seen it many times. Yeah, it's an entirely enjoyable movie. And one of the things I really like about it is, well, the chemistry in the cast. I mean, they work really well together, but it's the three of them, Gene Hackman, Liza Minnelli, and Burt Reynolds, sort of in the Depression. They wind up falling into a career as, smugglers, sort of bootleggers, but they don't know anything about bootlegging. And part of what I like about it is it maintains the comedy of these three people who fall into this career as bootleggers don't know a fuck about it. So it's very funny and slapsticky, but at the same time, it retains the danger of they're bootleggers. There's people going to be coming after them with machine guns trying to shoot them and blow shit up. And I think it does a nice balancing act of both of those.
Oh, wow. I think we got to do a Burt Reynolds film.
I was going to say, we'll talk about that when we're done here. So let's take a break and we'll play a preview for the first movie of Noir-vember. Noir Brewery? The first movie of Noir February. I'm not even going to try to fuck this up. That's right. On the next Culturecast, we're going to be talking about Try and Get Me, the first film of Noir February. And guess who programmed February? Cullen Gallagher.
Richard.
Did.
Oh, true. I did.
I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you for letting me do it, by the way. That was a lot of fun. I hope the hosts and you and the listeners all like the movies.
Well, if they don't have aliens in them with two eyes that are intergalactic lawyers, I'm not sure I will enjoy them. I'm only kidding. I'm looking forward to it. Noir is another genre of film that I am woefully underrepresented in my viewing library. So I am very much looking forward to watching more noir films. Until then, where can people find you, Cullen?
Putting a bigger indent in this couch I'm sitting on. No, I'm just sitting here. I'm going to be taking another class, trying to finish a book, working on some articles, and trying to put out some more recordings. So pulp-serenade.com.
What about you, Big Rich from the West Coast?
Oh, man. Season 3 of Titans kicking my honky ass, man. I am down here. I'm just working from home. I don't have to leave the warm comfort of my office here in Pasadena, California, in my house with my dogs and cats. And this show, man, we're getting to that point in the season where we're writing episodes, rewriting episodes, shooting episodes, and doing post-production on episodes. So I've got all these little screens. I'm either doing a Zoom meeting to be in the writer's room, or I'm writing a script or rewriting a script, or I've got this iPad that plugs me right into Toronto where I'm covering set 12 hours a day. Sir, I got up at 3 a.m. this morning, and I got up at 3 a.m. yesterday morning, and I'm getting up at 3 a.m. tonight to be on set at 4 a.m. because they're starting at 7 a.m. in Toronto to make season 3 of Titans just for the viewing public to enjoy watching something. It's nuts.
Dude, that sounds fucking insane schedule.
Oh my God, Richard. Good on you, man, because you know what? While working from home might sound amazing to some people, there is still that whole working part. The whole working. You're still busy. You're still working.
Well, it's like...
Thank you for taking the time out of that to talk about Can of Worms with the two of us, because I enjoyed this quite a bit, and it's...
That's why I did it. You know, I hovered. I'm like, what can I even do this? And then I'm like, no, I am going to make time to do this. And by the way, let's just be clear, because I gotta, real talk. I'm doing fun stuff. It's fun to work on Titans, but it's almost like we're going to take 3 things you enjoy and force you to do them all at the same time. It's like, yes, you can have sex, but you've got to be eating a plate of waffles at the same time while at the same time watching your favorite movie and also petting a dog. Like, well, yeah, but not all at the same time.
That would be a very wild experience.
Definitely wasn't my Sunday.
That sounds like something you would pay for if you want to do all those things at the same time.
It's very fair.
I know it's like people.
And the dog should not be involved in that.
Well, I know, man. I'm the one who agrees.
Richard's trying to quit, Cullen. Good. He's trying to quit. I gotta kick the habit.
Anyway, that's my life, man.
As for me, you can find me on Twitter at Christmas Claus. You can find Cullen and Richard and I together on many episodes of the Kulturecast. You can find those on the RSS feed at culturecast.com or on all podcatchers, both iOS and Android. You can also hear Richard, Mike, and I talking about Rankin and Bass Christmas specials on the Rankin on Bass limited series. You can find that. Just search Rankin on Bass. I also do a bunch of other podcasts. I post them all on my Twitter. That's where you can find me. Big thanks to Richard and Cullen for joining me, as always, to talk about some more films that they probably never would have watched otherwise. And we'll catch you on the next episode.